What is going on, everybody? Your man Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena. Yes, on a Wednesday night, the first Wednesday in November. Side note, everybody, get out there and vote because your vote matters. We got, as always, so much to talk about, so much to get into. Let me welcome back our Queen of Hoops in the building, Miss Megan Price, and of course, Blue Hawks 13's own Mr. John Shears in the building. Good evening to both of you. What's going on?
How y'all doing?
No comment on the vote thing.
No comment. All right, well, we're gonna keep it moving anyhow, John. That's okay. You ain't got to comment on it. So, so much to talk about. So much has happened over the last 48 hours since we were all together. Well, Megan, you weren't here on Monday, but you know what I mean. Since the Sports Arena was live. First up, let's talk about this trade deadline because I guess we got to show some love to somebody in the building. All the moves that were made here, as you can clearly see on the screen. TJ Hawkinson, he is now with the Minnesota Vikings. Chase Claypool went to the Chicago Bears. William Jackson to the Steelers. But I guess the biggest talk has been the fact that Bradley Chubb and Jeff Wilson are both with the Miami Dolphins. So, I mean, that stands to reason. My man, John Shear, talk to me about this, brother.
I mean, everybody was talking about how great the Bradley Chubb move is, and obviously the Dolphins need a pass rush. They got talented guys, but nobody's getting to the passer. But the Jeff Wilson move is absolutely brilliant. Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert both were in Mike McDaniels when he was offensive coordinator there in San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan. So that works perfect because he doesn't really have to learn this system. He already knows it. He basically already knows it. Chase Edmonds has been terrible for them. They need a second back. And I mean, what, as Mike always says, what travels when the weather gets cold in football? Defense and running the football. And the Dolphins haven't been playing defense, but they can run the football. And when you add Jeff Wilson, I think that that's huge for what the Dolphins are doing. I'm not going to go and say like they're winning a Super Bowl right now because like it's a proven thing. You still got the Bills and Chiefs right there. But I mean, this has to put Miami above everybody else aside from the Chiefs and Bills in the AFC. This has to put them at third. You know what I mean? Like adding these two pieces, I feel like now that solidifies them as the third best team in the AFC. You can't say above the Bills or Chiefs because they haven't proven it. So until you actually like go to the playoffs and beat those teams, really can't, give them that nod. But I would say it puts them at the third best team. Not to go on the Dolphins rant, but like that would be my opinion. Adding a star pass rusher and adding a complimentary back like that so you can get your 1-2 punch to help open up Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddles, what they're doing. Like, I think Miami is the third most dangerous team right now in the AFC.
All right, fair enough. That's fine.
And I want to only the one time that I'll let John go on a Dolphins rant because it was deservingly so. Great moves.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about who you think was a disappointment, but let me go to the Queen of Hoops and ask her, Megan, with the best trade deadline, who do you think handled their business?
I think the Bills did. Them picking up Hines and trading off Zach Moss. And I know, like, on the surface, this looks like two running backs that are both underutilized. But I think the Bills will be able to utilize Hines in a different way. His build, his explosiveness, to me, he's just very similar to Tony Pollard. Like, I feel like you're going to get the same type of results from him. And you could even probably get some receiving yards out of him. He's just that type of running back. So just personal opinion of mine. Worst, I got to say Ty Hawkinson and Detroit. What is Detroit thinking? Like, they let somebody go.
TJ.
I'm sorry, TJ. Within their division. Like, they let them go within your division for peanuts at that. And then also on the other side of things, like if you're Hawkinson, yeah, you're going from last to first, but Also, you're going to a QB that does not utilize the tight end whatsoever. Like he's 32nd and throws to a tight end position. So I don't know if it's a great move at all. I don't think it makes sense on either side.
So for me, it's rare that I do this, but I did it last night on Say What, Say It Again, one of our sister shows, and I'm gonna do it again here tonight. So perk up your ears, John Shear. The best moves, trade deadline has to be your Miami Dolphins, sir. But this truly is the win now moment. Okay, you know what Tua is about, and you've even said it. Ray Lynn talked about it Monday night. When Tua starts and finishes games, Miami is 13-1.
Yep, 5-0 this year.
5-0 this year when Tua starts and finishes games. So it's very difficult to sit there and say that man does not make a difference on your squad. All right. But going out and getting the players that you got with the weapons that you already had in a Tyreek Hill and a Jalen Waddle and a Mike Gesicki, now you throw this gentleman into the mix. And then on the defensive side of the ball, come on, man. Bradley Chubb. At one time, Bradley Chubb, Von Miller were probably, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
At one point, they were the two best. And it's very, very hard to not recognize what Mike McDaniel is doing this year, what the Dolphins organization is doing this year. I just find it kind of funny that now all of a sudden your owner is allowed back in the building. Well, he's been back for like the past week or two.
Week 6, he was suspended.
Yeah.
For 6
So
weeks, yeah.
I'm curious, if things are lining up for your team. As far as the worst, I'm going to go against my hated rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, and said you had every opportunity to provide Dak more weapons. You had an opportunity to go get you a serviceable back because you don't know the extent of how long Zeke is going to be out.
Tony
And
Pollard's
you,
more than capable.
okay, but Tony Pollard can't tote that rock the entire game, John. We know that. Okay.
We need receivers anyway.
Right. But I'm saying, Jerry, you didn't do anything. So what you basically is saying to your Dallas Cowboy fans, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, is that as your team is currently constructed, y'all are fine. Y'all are good where you're at, knowing that should you make it and get a wild card spot in the playoffs, you're going to have to face these teams that some of them may not be as good, but some already have the blueprint on how to beat you. So for me, that's what it is. John, who is your worst with regards to the NFL trade deadline?
I mean, I feel like there's quite a bit of there's a bunch of bad teams. I'm surprised it didn't sell. Like, surprised the Panthers didn't sell. I'm surprised the Raiders didn't sell. I'm surprised the Packers didn't sell. Like, these are teams that are bad teams. Now, the Packers and Raiders came into the year expecting Super Bowl. Like, we all heard about how, you got Aaron Rodgers, you think you're going to win the Super Bowl, or you can. You just got Devontae Adams, the Raiders did, and everybody was talking about, well, this team could go to the playoffs and maybe even the Super Bowl. We heard about that. Like, and the Raiders, for me, have to be the most disappointing because I said, if you're the Packers, you could go out and get Hunter Renfrow from the Packers and give them a Julian Edelman, give them a Wes Welker, give them a Danny Amendola type of guy. That would be perfect for Aaron Rodgers. That slot guy, Hunter Renfrow, who can run routes like crazy. I feel like that would have been perfect, but the loser to me has to be the Raiders. I mean, they're a really bad football team. They just got shut out by the Saints and Andy Dalton, and they're not going anywhere. The AFC is so loaded that you can't fall. Like I said this at the beginning of the year, you fall behind it all in the AFC this year, you have no chance of catching up. Like, the AFC is so good, you cannot afford to fall behind it all. And the Raiders are a really bad team with a bad record. Raiders are my team. That's a bunch of losers. I just feel like they have no direction. And then, I just feel like they have no direction, and I didn't like it. And by the way, my winner, because you asked winners and losers,
I did.
I know you
yes.
said the Dolphins. My winner has to be the Steelers. You send Chase Claypool to the Bears for a second-round pick, and the Bears bite on that? I wouldn't have given a fourth-round pick for that man. We saw one nice season
And
in
for
Israel
what?
where he
He's
had
gonna be a WR2, you know? Like he's not gonna be a
and
lead
he's a
receiver anyway.
50-50 ball guy that doesn't typically win the
Mhm.
50-50 ball. And you got a second out of him. And not only that trade, but you get William Jackson from the Commanders for basically nothing. And if you know anything about William Jackson, he's a fantastic corner that won it out of Washington. And Pittsburgh loves their cornerbacks. They love their defense. They love how that's Pittsburgh. And they go and get this guy for basically for free. And nobody's really talking about that because of the Bradley Chubb deal. Steelers won this trade deadline. I love what they did.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, listen, we know that as time progresses, things could potentially still happen. But I mean, for me, like I said, it was just one of those things where I have to respect what your 305 team has done. So, congratulations to you, John and
Appreciate it.
Megan. I just want to say
No,
thank you.
I actually
Let's not
don't
overlook you,
disagree
too.
about what you had to say about Dallas, though. Like, I don't disagree with it. I think they sent a very clear message that they weren't going to give Dak any type of weapons. Like, they didn't do anything in
But-
free agency. Our free agency was awful. Then you
Megan.
want to come through and not do anything at the trade deadline?
The only thing I would have done, because I don't really think you need too many weapons. I think the thing that they should have done is went out and got an offensive lineman. That was the thing I thought that they should have went out and done. You lost Tyron Smith for the year. Like you should have went out and solidified that offensive line. That's what I think. Because that was your problem, like the beginning of the year when Dak got hurt. I thought that that's what you should have done, solidify the line, because you got nice pieces, but you don't got anything to protect.
I think we've been lucky in the tight end position and that our backups have like been able to fill in while Schultz is hurt. And we were just lucky that those actually worked out. Like, and you know, we did Noah
Also-
Brown. That was kind of been a surprise as well, you know, like that he has been able to step up and have that next man mentality. But I definitely think that we need a wide receiver one. I don't think any one of those receivers that we have are solid.
You don't think
number
CD
one.
is?
No.
I mean, I would listen. It's hard for me to say it, but I would give him that. But I want to address this comment here. So our boy Matt chiming in saying that a healthy Lamb, Gallup, and Schultz can get it done. And to John's point, need an O line. They're banking on that defense to win championship. Well, what do we know? Defense does win championships.
Well said.
So it's one of those things. But I disagree with this last part. I'm not comparing Trent Dilfer to Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is better than Trent Dilfer. I understand his reasoning or his why he's saying it like that. But DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, LVE, you know, they all have the capability. And then, of course, Trayvon Diggs. But I hate the fact that I know
But
this team.
speaking of Parsons, like why did we even let him play against Chicago? Like I feel like he should have been sitting out that game. He's the
Why?
heart and soul of our defense, and he's hurt.
So that's,
He's hurt.
that's why
He has
okay,
he has a brace. No, that savior mentality is going to lead you to being super injured and not worth it. Like I don't. Go
I
ahead.
don't wish injury on any player. I especially don't wish injury on Penn State players, no matter what team they go to. But that dog mentality that I'm going to constantly prove to you that I am the best, I am hurt, I am injured, I am still going to battle through it. That's the heart of a champion. And it
is absolutely.
I-
but if you're
I'm,
not
I'm
on
getting
the
sick
field,
just saying that.
but if you're not on the field, what good are you? Like I feel like this game was not as important. We were at home. And you were obviously injured. Not only were you grabbing at your groin area, but you had a brace on your shoulder. So definitely he should have sat it out and had that time off.
You know what? You live and you learn. Because
Sure.
when is Dallas's bye?
This week.
Okay, so you're off this week. So he just knew he had to get through that game. Now he's got a full
Right.
10 days plus 2 weeks, whatever, to rest and
And
get
if
himself
he
back.
would have sat this game out, and whether this is on the coaching staff or whether this is on him, and I'm sure it's him because he was in and out.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's on him. But I mean, your coaches too. Like I really feel like they should have just sat him out and gave him the little extra time, that little extra cushion, because we're not winning the division. We got to get in on a wild card.
But
You
a lot
need
of
him
athletes are built that way, where they don't want to sit. Like it don't matter.
Well, no,
Yeah,
because it's
I
It
next
don't
man
matter
up
how
and they
banged up they
understand.
are. If they can get
But-
out there on one leg, a lot of these athletes will do.
Listen, but I said the same thing
I mean,
about
I
Tua.
get it.
And what did
I
I
get
say
it.
about Tua? I said Tua needs to sit his behind down, and sometimes you need to be saved from yourself. I agree with you, Megan. I just know Micah Parsons coming from Pennsylvania, coming from my alma mater, Penn State. I know that mentality. Okay, I've
Right.
seen it firsthand. So let's move on to our next topic. And for this topic, I'm so glad that this brother decided to join in. You know, it is the co-host of the show. He typically joins us on Monday nights, but he's here with us tonight. The one and only Ray Lynn
Get
is in
that
the
damn
building.
hat off your head. Get that damn.
Okay, goodbye, John. Anyhow,
Man,
the man coming in the show doing us a solid, and John just want to start talking already. Matter of
somebody.
fact, hold on. Before you do that, Ray, John, I personally brought something new to the table for you. This is for you, John. Anytime you start saying something ridiculous, I'm throwing the challenge flag, John. That's what
Look
I'm
at
doing.
that hat, man. He's a Detroit fan wearing a Yankee hat. Like,
John, let me
chill.
explain something to you about urban culture. When you see us wearing fitted hats, 90% of the time, it ain't our favorite team, dog.
That's not.
I live in North Carolina. You can find maybe 3 color schemes of the Detroit hats: the black with the white D, the black with the black D, and the blue with the white D. Maybe the blue with the orange. So if I want some colors to switch it up, I gotta wear the team. I got a hat full of closet full of hats, man.
All
I
right,
ain't no Yankee fan though.
let's talk about not the trade deadline. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. This situation, I don't even know where to start. But since Ray, you joined us, let's talk first about the fact that Steve Nash is gone. We ain't even 12, 15 games, 10 games in the season, and Steve Nash is already out the door. Man, talk to me about this, please.
Scapegoat. Scapegoat. It happens somebody has to be the fall guy. You kind of put it, you think about Miami when they won their championship, right? The team was underperforming. So they made Van Gundy the fall guy, and Riley comes down and saves the day, right? When Cleveland came off a finals, a finals appearance, they're in the middle of the season and they're not performing. So David Blatt's the fall guy. A guy that was just in the NBA finals, right? Like, this is what happens when a team isn't looking how people think they should look. Oh, somebody got to go. Even I think when D'Antoni came to the Lakers, the coach got fired 4 games in, if I'm not mistaken. I think we were 4 games in, we hired D'Antoni. Point being, Steve Nash is the scapegoat. You look at the sequence of events of what's happened in Brooklyn, right? KD comes, Kyrie comes. KD's injured for a year, right? That was the bubble year. Then they come out the next year and they hire Steve Nash. And then 2 weeks into the season, they go all in and say, we're going to get James Harden. We're going to give up pieces. Dinwiddie's gone, LeVert's gone, Jared Allen's gone. But we have this trio of Harden, Kyrie, and KD. And guess what? In the games they played together in this lifetime, they're 13-3. So they were very good when the 3 of them played together, right? Problem is, go look at their game logs for that year they played together. Kyrie missed time, KD missed time, Harden missed time, and they never could gel. And then they get to the playoffs, and the whole world, all the media says, if KD wore a size smaller shoe, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's what people say. If KD's shoe was a size smaller, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's a successful season, if you ask me. And that's with Harden limping on one leg and Kyrie not playing. They were a half a toe away from the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Come out the next year, Harden dogged his way out. Kyrie's battling injuries, and you get Ben Simmons, he doesn't want to play. So you get swept in the first round of playoffs. Because guess what? All the other contributors you had, you gave up for Harden. So now you turn Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, all those guys into Ben Simmons, a guy who won't play. And now this year he's playing and he won't shoot the ball. So whose fault is this really? Kevin Durant, all season, demands a trade. He ain't never happy. You done threw your coach under the bus in the offseason. But he's the fault guy. No, it's not Steve Nash's fault, man. It's the players' fault. Like, they didn't perform. They didn't do what was expected of them. Ben Simmons is horrible. Ben Simmons is horrible. I know you so glad he gone. Like, if I blame anybody, it's him. Because, again, all those pieces you had today in 2022, all those pieces, Dinwiddie, who's balling, LeVert, balling, Jared Allen, balling. That got you Ben Simmons.
Hold, please. Hold, please. I have to do it. I have to do it. Ooh, okay. Now that we got that out the way, Queen of Hoops, let me talk to you about it. Talk to me about the fact that a man who was suspended indefinitely as the head coach of the Boston Celtics is looking to become the new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Talk to me about Ume Udoka and this whole situation, please.
I think I'm actually going to start with Steve Nash first and just say, on the surface, his overall record, 94-67. So winning record as a head coach, right? This season, a 1-5 start, though. And then last season, he got swept in the first round of the playoffs. And then to kind of rebuttal a little bit of what Raylan had to say, when you talk about last season, Kyrie was injured. And Ben Simmons didn't want to play. Okay, Kyrie was injured, but a lot of those games that he didn't play in, it wasn't the injury that was the problem. It was a vaccination. And then you go to this season and you have more off the court drama with Kyrie. And so while I do think that some of the problems are the players, I do think that they are accountable for this. Like KD wanted Steve Nash out in the off season, but then now wants to sit there and say he's shocked by the firing. Like, absolutely not. You're not shocked by this whatsoever. They just didn't placate you in the off season. Maybe you're shocked about that part, but you're not shocked that Steve Nash is gone. From the very beginning, Steve Nash has looked like a deer in headlights. Every single time I saw him talking to the media, before a game, after a game, he looked like he was shocked to be there. Has this man ever been an assistant coach? Answer is no. He did not earn that position, in my opinion. I do think that coaching is different. It's different than just, oh, I was a player, so I deserve to be here. Like, not every single player translates into a great head coach. My personal opinion, Tim Duncan is not a good head coach. Do I think he is a specialty coach? Do I think he's somebody that could be a personal trainer for a team? Yes, but I don't think he has the personality to be a head coach. And then at that, I think you have to earn it. I think there's a hierarchy to this system. Like, you were not an assistant coach anywhere. So how did you luck up into a position to have KD, Kyrie, and that's what you're going to be building over there in Brooklyn? Like, you did nothing to earn that. And so is he possibly a scapegoat? And there are many other factors that led up to this. Absolutely. But he was never prepared for this. So he was a scapegoat from the beginning.
So what about Udoka?
I think that I have complete faith in Udoka to actually be able to lead this team. I think that he had the personality to lead a pretty tough team there in Boston. I think Marcus Smart is kind of mouthy. As we heard, he kind of put some of their business out in the beginning of last season and, said that it was very predictable with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown that the other team's defenses, they knew the ball was going to be in one of those two players' hands and that it was very predictable. Very true. Do I think he probably should have kept that in the locker room? Maybe, but it got the results that they needed because from that moment around Christmas, they turned it around and ended up making it to the finals. So I think that Ime is somebody that can control these attitudes and these egos that they have going on in their roster. And if not, he'll probably become another scapegoat. But this looks like a final straw to win with KD before they blow things up.
All right, I'm going to push back a little bit, but I'm going to let John go first, and then I'm going to push back on some of the things you said. But John, give me your thoughts on, this whole Nash Udoka situation.
Yeah, I have to wonder if they did this. If they wanted to fire him when KD asked, but they didn't want to do it when KD asked, because then it would be like, hey, the player's asking for a coach to get fired and we oblige. Like, you really can't do that. So instead of doing it when he asks, you do it a couple months later. So that way it doesn't look like you gave the player his way. Because you really can't let a player fire a coach. Like, that doesn't happen in sports. Like, you just can't allow that to happen. So doing it a little bit later so that way it looks like it's a separate thing. I think that was the PR move. So that way they avoided that whole, because like I said, I mean, if KD comes out and says, fire our coach, and then they fire him that day, like, what is the PR storm going to be when that happens? It's going to be really bad. If you do it a couple months later, even though you already know you're getting rid of him, I mean, it's kind of like, think about the Bucks. They fired Bruce Arians because of Tom Brady.
Well, hold on. Bruce Arians stepped down.
But how many coaches has LeBron got fired?
We all know what happened in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady did not want him as a head coach, and instead he stepped down, and then they moved him to this made-up front office position magically. Can I just
interject really quick?
Like, we know
you're going to ask a man who lives 45 minutes from Ray J about a situation. Meanwhile, you're up there in Pennsylvania,
it don't matter.
even though I have firsthand knowledge. So you're going to say that I don't know? That what you're trying to tell me?
It's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you what happened. Tom Brady wanted
But
his
you're
way. And
wrong,
then,
is what I'm trying to
then
tell you, and you ain't listening.
all of a sudden, Bruce Arians
Okay.
magically steps
All right.
down.
Okay.
And then he goes into this random.
I'm gonna let you
office
put that
position.
narrative
Come on.
out there. What I'm trying to tell you, and like Mike says, you hear Jimmy, but you ain't listening. Okay, John, it'd be like me coming to Pennsylvania, and you have the inside scoop, or you close. Let's just say you close to the Wizards, all right, or the Mystics, or whomever, the Commanders, whomever, and you have the inside scoop. But I'm living down here thinking I know what happened. Okay, I'm trying to tell you. So perk up, all right? You can speak that all you want, but what I'm trying to tell you, and I know from a valid source, is that it was not Brady going to the Glazers and saying, I want this man fired. Okay. What happened? If you want full transparency done, I'll give it to you.
Please
What
tell the
happened
world.
was there was a lot of insight and a lot of conversation surrounding the movement, not only of Bruce Arian, but also of Byron Leftwich and also of Todd Bowles. So the decision was basically left between the three of them. And of course, Jason Light and the Glazer family are going to sign off on what Brady says to some regard. But at the end of the day, the coaches were the ones who actually sat down, had that conversation, and they decided what was best for the organization. It was not Tom Brady going to the Glazers or Jason Light and saying, get rid of Bruce Arians. Okay.
I just think it's all coincidental.
All right. You can again, John, you're not listening. Okay? You're not listening to me.
We'll agree to disagree.
If that's the narrative you want to put out there, I'm telling you right now, for the first time ever on this show, John Scheer is putting out a false narrative.
Believe what you want.
All right.
Just agree to disagree.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So the question now becomes, Udoka stepping in and taking over as potentially the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. The question now is, where do they go? Because like Megan said, like Ray has said, this is 1 year. You have 1 year of these three guys, Kyrie, KD, Ben Simmons. What is going to be at the end of the season, the regular season? Where is Brooklyn going to wind up? Ray, I'm going to start with you, Megan, and then John.
Nobody else is walking back through that door. Like if Ben Simmons is one of your 2 or 3 best players, you're in trouble. Like, and I believed in Ben. Like I was calling him Giannis Light. I really was. I was saying if a coach can, I said when him and Embiid was together, you got to trade one of them because they operate in the same area. Like Ben doesn't operate above the free throw line. He's a downhill guy, kind of think reminiscent of young LeBron with a little bit less athleticism, right? I said if you treat him like Greek, where he's a point forward, right? He's going to guard other 3s and 4s, but he's going to have the ball in his hands, and you put a bunch of shooters around him. Ben Simmons can be phenomenal. I said that. You saw stretches when Embiid was out. Ben Simmons played great. Then all of a sudden, he just woke up one day and said, you know what? I'm going to be horrible now. Like, he literally just woke up one day and said, I'm not going to be good at basketball. And again, all those pieces you gave away are now Ben Simmons, right? Look at what Karis LeVert is doing. Look at what Jared Allen did in Cleveland last year till he got hurt. He was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Not to mention, I mean, like this, like management has destroyed this roster year after year, bringing in all these old guys. Like last year, Brooklyn had a team that would have been great in 2013, right? Paul Millsap, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Andre Drummond was there for a little bit. Like all these old guys. Like the roster's just not constructed very well. You need Kyrie and think about this. Kyrie and KD are both averaging over 30. At least Kyrie was before he had that skunker the other night. And they were 1-5. With them guys getting 30 on 50%. Kyrie's like 48%. KD was at 51%. And they couldn't win games. It's just not enough. We saw that in the playoffs last year. When they squeaked by, I think, Cleveland in the play-in, I was like, bro, they had to do that to barely win? It was like they got swept last year. Well, again, what you built as a team is no longer that team, and the guy who's supposed to be a third guy isn't there, and now he's there, and he doesn't play very well. So Brooklyn's going to be very bad, and I hope we dive some more into one Kyrie Irving, because like Kyrie Irving is now becoming low-hanging fruit. He's low-hanging fruit, where no matter what Kyrie Irving does, it's going to be blown up in the media. It's going to be a problem. I pulled up a list. You know how many NBA players didn't want to take the vaccination? A lot of them. But Kyrie Irving was the guy because Brooklyn is in New York. They got this big three. They're supposed to contend, and one of their top guys don't want to take the vaccine. Oh my God, what's Brooklyn going to do? Kyrie done proved many times he marches to the beat of his own drum. He don't care what people think about it. Right. But when it's time for action, when the NBA faked and pretended like they cared about Black Lives Matter, y'all remember that in the bubble? They put it all on the floors and all that, and then an incident happened. Who was the one player that said we shouldn't go play?
Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie Irving, and everybody said he was tripping. Kyrie Irving said, "I'm standing on what I stand on."
I don't think it was the problem that he wouldn't take the vaccination. Is that he wouldn't take the vaccination. He was where he was, and so it affected the team how it did. They went out of their way to get KD because Kyrie wanted KD, right? And then here you are, you can't play, bro. You can't play half the games. It was a problem. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong for his beliefs, and I'm not even going to get into the other stuff that's going on right now that he's getting protested, because it's not in me to sit there and tell somebody how they should feel about something that doesn't have anything to do with my ethnicity. Like I can't sit there and tell somebody how they are supposed to feel about something like that when it doesn't have anything to do with me. Like I have not walked that walk, so I can't sit there and say that. But the vaccination and how it affected every single person on that team and what was going on in New York City, like I said back then, I'm in the medical profession, and every single one of us, because the world was shut down, we were in front of our TVs and we knew exactly what was going on in New York City and how they got hit. I was not upset with the guidelines that they put in place for them to be safe. Like that's what they had to do. That's what they felt like they had to do. Like every single person that was in power, hold on one second, John. Every single person that was in power, whether it was on the state level, government, or up above that on the federal level, like it was just something that we could not have been prepared for. They did the best that they could. And so I can't knock them for doing what they thought was best, what was safe for their community. So, but Kyrie, here you are. Like we went out of our way. I'm not going to sit there and agree that he's low hanging fruit, or I'm not going to say that my problem with him is because he was low hanging fruit. Like, I don't think I don't have problems with some of the stuff that he does. He's different. That's who he is. I don't have a problem with that. But this, like, we went out of our way to get one of the best players in the world to play with you, and you're not here.
See, but we stretching that though. We stretching that. KD was a free agent. They didn't have to do much. Either he was coming or he wasn't. Why do I look blurry? I don't know. Like KD wanted to be there as much as Kyrie wanted him there.
He was either going to go to the Knicks or the Nets. That's what it was.
Can I ask you a question?
But like when you say the Nets went out of their way, what did they have to do special? He wanted to come there. They had to do nothing.
They had to pay him.
They had to outbid New York, the Knicks. I mean, that's
okay. So let's be for real, Eric. The media, I've never believed that Kevin Durant was one of the top two players in the league ever. Maybe 2013. I think he was on LeBron heels, right? Since then, since the ascension of
MVP season.
2013 was the MVP season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think 14 was. LeBron won in 13. So KD won in 14, Steph won in 15. I've never looked at him and thought to myself, he's super talented, right? I've never thought he's one of the top two players. But the media swears by Kevin Durant, right? They've been trying to anoint him since 2012 when they lost in the finals. They've been saying, KD's coming, right? So when he's available, you breaking the bank. If he wants to be here, this is not a conversation. How much he want? Pay it. That was a no-brainer. KD could have picked one of any 32 teams, and they was all gonna pay him whatever he wanted because he's Kevin Durant. So I don't know, man. I think it's just like, again, it's like, he did Kyrie a favor by coming there. Kevin Durant played with Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook, and then chose there. He wanted to play with Kyrie. He chose him.
But I mean, I'm not saying that he fully believed we're going to win a championship. Like, we have the possibility to win a championship with this roster right here. And then the major piece besides myself is not here because he won't take a shot.
I have to ask you a question, Megan, because I really, really want to ask this. So you say that he's not keeping the community safe because he's not getting the shot, whatever. So, like, that's
not what I said. I said he didn't go along with the guidelines. That's not what I said. I said
right? The guidelines,
right.
Because this didn't apply to the Yankees, but it applied to the Nets.
I disagree with that too. You know,
but it applied to the Nets. But
John,
then once
John,
then
I'll
they
do you one
eventually
better.
changed it. Once it got to baseball season, they eventually were
Yeah,
like,
they
"Oh
changed it.
my, we can't have Yankees not playing." And all of a
But
sudden,
what role does the mayor of New York City play with the Brooklyn Nets? We all know.
I'm just saying, like,
Hey,
it mattered for the
John,
Nets.
I'll
But
do
then
you
when the
one better.
Yankee season came around, it was like, "Oh, we got to change the rules. We got to change the rules in New York."
John, can you tell me how much sense this make? Mandatory vaccinations for the 24 guys they got to get on the court. For the 10,000 people,
Right, but he could have sat. He could have sat. Yeah, he could have sat in the stands and been
Right,
unvaccinated. It would have been no problem. I agree. It was stupid.
It
It was.
wow.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it wasn't dumb, but those were the guidelines that were in place. Like
Okay.
I felt like it should.
Hold on. Time out. We got to stick a pin in this. This is a whole conversation for another time. We will set time aside to keep this conversation going. We got to keep moving, y'all. But really quick, Megan, John, and I'll just give mine real quick. Where do I think that the Brooklyn Nets are going to finish this season? I say they finish 9th and barely get into the play-in tournament. That's what I say. So, John, you're saying play-in. Megan, what are you saying?
I'm saying play in, but I'm going to put them all the way down at probably number 10.
Okay.
The East is much improved.
All right. Ray, I know. Sure. Just remind me.
The basement, the bottom, wherever the bottom is. They're going to be down there with the Pistons. That's where they're going to be.
All right. Fair enough. We're going to keep it going. I was going to take a break, but we got so much more to talk about, and I definitely want to get to the couple last 3-4 other teams we got talking tonight here, including the World Series, John. So make sure you're ready for that. Let's talk about the college football rankings, though, okay? Here you see on your screen the college football rankings, 1 through 25. You got Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, and Clemson, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Michigan, Alabama, TCU, and the rest, as you see on your screen, going all the way down to UCF at 25. So, John, how do you feel about the rankings thus far?
I think it's stupid. I have no. Go look at this Tennessee-Georgia game coming up. Go look at the line on how much Tennessee's an underdog. I believe it's by 8 points. When in your life, Eric, when in your life, in the history of college football, have you seen a number 1 seed be an 8-point underdog? I've never seen it in my life. I've never seen a 1 seed, because you're the 1 seed. You're the best team in the nation. According to the polls, you're the best team in the nation. How are you an 8-point dog to anybody? They shouldn't be number 1. Georgia's far and away better than everybody in this field. Like, I get Tennessee is hot, but there's no reason Georgia should be 3. Absolutely no reason. Georgia, like we've seen, Georgia is just on another level. They were last year. They're there again. Clemson's not close. Like, Alabama's probably going to end up being close because for some reason when they get to the playoffs and they're going to somehow slip in, like Alabama and Georgia are going to have like a classic. They always do. But there's no way Georgia should be number 3. Like, that's just stupid. Like, you can't be a dog as a number 1 seed to the 3 seed. Well, then the 3 seed's better than you. It just don't make sense. Like, I've never seen that in college football my entire life.
Here's my problem with your thought process, John, is that's right. What you're saying, I mean, I don't want to go into a stupid debate with John, but like what you're saying to me is the flaw in the college football playoff, right?
Oh, yeah, there definitely is a flaw.
No, but the flaw in it is, like, what you're saying right now is, like, on paper for me, Tennessee has the best resume, right? The most impressive.
Well, they're the number 1 seed, so I
know, right? What I'm saying is,
number 1.
I know, but per their resume and what they've done, they deserve to be there, right? I don't think the seedings are about who you think is better. And I think in the years past, that's what's been the flaw. When you get down to the last few weeks, right? It's not what you've done, because people think Georgia's really better, right? Like, they think Georgia is the better team, but for their resume, what Tennessee has accomplished, they deserve to be number 1 right now. And then the odds makers come out and say, well, we think Georgia.
Okay, but then why is OSU always where they're at when they always get preferential treatment and they don't have the resume to back it up? They don't have the resume to back it up.
I have way more issue with OSU at number 2 than I do Tennessee at number 1.
Yep.
Right? I can see Georgia at number 2, right? Hell, Michigan's resume right now is better than Ohio State's. So, like,
Michigan hella underrated.
But here's my overall point on the college football playoff. It doesn't matter at all, right? Like, I haven't done the research, but I'd be willing to bet you not a single time since the college football playoff has been in existence have the 4 teams that started off in the top 4 were the 4 teams that actually made it, right? Like, it's so much movement that goes on late in the year. I recall one year, this was my biggest issue with it. TCU was ranked like number 3, and they went out and smoke checked somebody, and they dropped to number 5 because
they didn't beat them. They didn't beat them, but like
but
it
they
wasn't
did.
a big enough beatdown, right?
It was like 55-3 or something like that. They smoke checked somebody, and it was like, what else could they have went out and done to maintain their standing? And somebody else, like that was at 6 or 5, beat another.
They don't move
team
the
and
needle
leaped them.
enough for the ratings.
And that's
Well,
the thing,
how
man,
about those? How about those years that Auburn had 3 seasons where they went undefeated and they never made a championship game? Like I think that just like y'all said, it goes to show the flaw and the corruption within the college ranking voting.
That was pre CFP. That was pre that. That was BCS when they went co-champs that year. I think like the year Cam Newton was there. They was co-champs with somebody, with Cadillac and all of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, but then we got TCU. We got TCU who's undefeated. They're 8-0, and they slide in right underneath Alabama. I think that's bull.
What about a couple years ago? I mean, we had Eric. I don't know if you remember this. A few years ago, when Penn State had 1 loss, and they were doing the 4-team college playoff, and Ohio State had 2 losses. And we all thought Penn State was getting in, and then they slipped Ohio State in over them.
Okay, and then what about 2 seasons ago when OSU got in over A&M? And don't get me wrong, they were both going to lose that game. Either one of them, whoever played the game, was going to lose. But A&M was the better team, and it pains me to say that because.
So, to Megan's point about Auburn being quote unquote slighted, and then to Denzel's comment right here, right? Those seasons were the reason for the college football playoff, right? It was almost like, how can a team go undefeated in a Power 5 and don't play for the net? Don't even have a chance to play, right?
3 seasons in a row. 3 seasons in a row.
Was that 2 years ago? UCF went undefeated, and then they smoked one of the power teams in their
So again,
in their bowl game.
No matter what system they come up with, there's going to be a flaw, right? If you're UCF, think about all those years Boise State was just dominant, right? And they never had a chance. They would always be 7th or 8th and get a decent, one of the 4 bowls, right? Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl, whatever, right? So no matter what system you come up with, man, if you come up with a system like now, you say it's 4 teams going to get in. Teams 5 and 6 going to feel like they were slighted. When you move it to 8, teams 9 and 10 are going to go, they did it. So it's always going to be a problem, but I think they did fix at least that issue. We haven't had a situation where, you got 5 teams undefeated. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
None of it won't matter to the end.
You're right. All right, let's keep it moving here because we got about 13 minutes left. We got 3 more topics here I want to talk about. So, of course, next up, I need to get everybody's picks. Thursday Night Football, is
man, take that off the screen, man.
Right. I mean, it's so obvious that when I made the rundown, the reason I went ahead and threw the Commanders in there, the sale of the Commanders with the topic, is because we all know what's going to happen tomorrow night.
Eagles check, we're done.
Listen, I have to ask the question. We do it each week here on the Sports Arena. Wednesday night, we give our picks for Thursday Night Football. Okay.
We got 13 minutes left. And how many topics?
3 topics.
Round the table, all 4 people picked Eagles. Wrap that up. Not that one. That ain't even that hard. Wrap it up.
No, that's fine. That one's good too.
Wrap it up, man. Hey, but you know what?
Yeah.
I will say this.
We all take the freebies.
Short week. Eagles are flying high, right? They can't sleepwalk through this game. They can't sleepwalk through this game.
Okay.
We have to score in the second quarter and more than 1 touchdown. Yes, I know. You're right. We cannot sleep on this. We are in Houston. And Jalen Hurts is a Astros fan, but I think right now he done changed his hat because, it's the World Series and you in Philly, bro. So I'm just saying.
Right.
But anyhow, let's get to the next topic since everybody is in agreement here.
Shame on you, E. Shame on you.
I got to ask the question. It's only fair.
For sure.
All right, next topic. Here we go. So the Washington Commanders are working with Bank of America in order to sell the team. It has finally happened, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Snyder is somewhat getting pushed out. Like, bro, you got to go. And he had to.
I disagree with that, by the way.
You disagree with what?
I disagree that he's getting pushed out.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Fine. Well, fine. John, go ahead.
What is happening, John?
I disagree he's getting pushed out because we saw that news. Now we heard this news this morning about how he's open to selling the team or part of the team. And then all of a sudden, a couple hours later, we see the news about how Washington might have done things wrong financially, how they may have committed crimes financially. Now, is that funny? Is that funny how Dan Snyder news comes out in the morning, and then this other news about potentially committing crimes in your organization comes out a couple hours later? That seems like a Dan Snyder thing to do, to just kind of be like, well, I know this is coming, so before the news comes out, hey, guess what, everybody? I'm willing to sell the team. Like, I'm running away from this. It's no longer my problem. 4 point whatever billion. Somebody come buy it. It's no longer my issue. Somebody else deal with it. That's a Dan Snyder.
Does he not still
That's
have to?
what I
Okay,
gathered.
if they bring up criminal charges, does he not still have to? I mean, does he?
I
Is
have
he
no
still
idea
responsible
how
for that? For
I
a
have no
double
idea how all
double
that
set
works.
of
It
books?
seems
I
like
would think it depends on when the crime was committed. If the crime was committed
Right.
while you were the owner of the NFL team, whether it was the Redskins, the football team, or the Commanders, if you were the owner at the time when these crimes are being committed, you are held. I don't know the law. I'm not a lawyer.
I have
I don't
no
even
idea.
even play one on TV. But what I'm saying to you is there has to be some culpability in this,
Mhm.
because I get what you're saying, John, and
But
it
do you
does
see how
make
it's
sense.
weird how
Yes,
the news kind
he
of
is right at 8 o'clock. He's like, I'm willing to sell, and at 1 p.m., criminal charges with regards to the Washington team are now surfacing. So I get it, and it would make sense, but there has to be, and I we'll have to find that out. You know what? We need to call our lawyer, Miss Haley Murphy, out there in Cleveland, and see if we can get her back on the show, because maybe she can shed some light.
Finish that sentence. There has to be what? Finish that sentence.
There has to be some level of accountability.
Let me ask you this
Mm.
question. When you say accountability, when you say some level, to what extent what do you think can possibly happen to him?
He is never allowed to own another NFL franchise.
Won't bother him at all, right? Like that's why he's selling it. Like John said, he got out in front of it and said, "Oh, I'm gonna get to sell the team and run."
he's running before
I
things
just, I
get
just,
weird.
I just want to make this very clear about Dan Snyder, right? And I'm not even fully in tune with everything that he did.
It's a lot.
When have you? I want you to think real hard. Sports, politics, life, whatever. When have you ever known billionaire, old, rich white men to be held accountable for what they did? Think real hard about that question.
That's
Harvey
true, too.
Weinstein.
But after how much? You know what I mean? After how much did he finally get held accountable for a small portion of what he did?
That was not a part of the question. The question was,
Okay, you're
when
right.
has an old, rich, white billionaire ever been held accountable? It wasn't to some degree. It wasn't to after 30 years or 50 or 70. It was when Harvey Weinstein. Yes, one.
That's a very
the only time is when when the other rich white owners around that billionaire get affected, then that person gets affected.
And
that's the only time I've really seen.
And they're solving that problem right now, right? We're not gonna have that.
I mean, y'all heard what Jerry had to say. He said, "Don't f with him."
You heard what Jim Irsay said. You heard what Jim.
But I'm just saying, it was all a part of that one situation.
It was, but you heard what Jim Irsay said, and we were all like, Jim Irsay is the last person to be coming on TV and
he wasn't wrong.
I'm not saying he was right or wrong, John. I'm just saying.
I want us to think about what we're considering accountability. What's actually going to happen, right? You said he's being forced out. He's forced to sell the team. I don't care how awful the team is. If you've owned a team in professional sports for the past 5, 10, 15 years, it is worth more today than it was when you bought it. I don't care how bad the team is, right? Inflation, like sports entertainment, like these TV deals, all that kind of stuff. Like, so you're going to force him to get a return on his investment then right off into the sunset.
Over $4 billion.
Oh, great. Like, after I got to take my money and run. Like, I mean, it's not.
No, it has to be. It has to be some legal accountability, because if he really did, like, and I know it's a sticky situation, because with Mark Cuban, whenever they had
how
that
much
issue
was
that
that
came,
him? You know what I'm saying? Like how much?
Right.
That?
And that's
They
the
gotta
thing,
prove
like,
who-
because
if
you
he
have
was
to
part of
prove it. You have to prove, and they couldn't prove that Mark Cuban knew about all that, and which it was not a legal issue, it was a harassment issue, and so it was more civil. This is actually like breaking the law, and so. You know, are the accountants, are the financial departments going to take the fall for this, or is he going to take some type of fall for this as well? And so I agree, Raylan. It's got to be more accountability.
Hey, Eric,
real accountability.
John, in fact, all three of y'all right now, whoever offers you $800 million to go ahead and do 2 years in jail, 800 million.
Y'all know my answer. Don't ask me this question.
Wait, what'd you say?
800 million.
800
What's
million?
800
going on?
million
800
to
million.
do 2
Do 2 years
years.
in jail.
To do 2 years. Okay.
Nah, I'm good. I got
Right.
kids, man. I don't want to
Let me-
miss
let
out
me
2
explain
years of
something,
my
man.
kid's life.
Okay.
Let me explain something, man. Like
Yeah,
without thinking
man, I'm
twice.
doing it.
Without
2
thinking
years?
twice. Without
Yeah.
thinking twice.
I'm
John,
blinking.
and this is different for me. I served in the military. I deployed 6 times. I've missed a lot of years of my kid's life for a whole lot less, right? It's a sacrifice for this cup. Like, and what I'm saying that to say, somebody would take the fall for this, and they would be compensated very well for it.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
Somebody else name is going to be on this paperwork, and then
I mean, to be
well,
fair,
I don't know.
For sure.
there was already one of them named John Gruden became the scapegoat.
All right, I got a curious thing that I need to figure out here with 5 minutes left. I'm trying to figure out why this man has joined the conversation. What are you doing here?
He's bragging about the Astros.
I kind of noticed that the next topic or last topic, if y'all got time with the World Series, I was just gonna come in and say a few words. That's it.
Last topic, World Series 2022. I was watching the game up until, of course, we do the show here tonight. So since you are a guest and you just want to pop in like when you feel like it, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let you take your moment. Go ahead, talk about your Stros, bro. Go ahead.
You know what? Let it be known at the beginning of the series, I said to James Tatum, shout out to my boy. I said this is the worst type of team to face. I said this is a team that barely made the playoffs and got hot at the right time. I said this is the worst type of team to face. I'm not overlooking anything. Okay. Now I did say whoever won last night was gonna tie the series tonight, and so far that's how it's looking. The Astros have a no going through 8 innings.
You
but
can't
we'll
say
see.
that. You can't say that. Oh, you're jinxing it. What are you doing? You can't say those words. Oh,
every media outlet's already said it.
Oh no, but you can't. You're jinxing it. You're a fan.
Every media outlet's already said it. We're all in sports media, right?
But you're a fan of the Astros. You can't say those words.
Okay, look.
Get him at it. Throw the flag. You can't say that.
The flag. No.
Let him say
I'm
it.
getting flagged. So the man who's been flagged the most on this show wants a flag thrown on me. That's funny. That is Chris Rock level hilarity.
For pass interference.
Ain't no way you're gonna pass that heat off on me. Nah, we gonna go to court behind this. Nah, John Shearer, not tonight. Not tonight. Listen, okay. I'm not overlooking the Phillies. They have that one swing momentum shift factor. And that is why we got to take everything. We got to take everything game by game. I still have the Astros in 6.
That vault,
a win tonight guarantees. Hey, franchise did his thing though,
that substance.
So with that being said, I did say that we had to win at least one in Philly to guarantee that the series goes back to Houston. So overall, and you know what? We have Verlander tomorrow night. And everybody on this panel knows in the World Series, Verlander and Ray J, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring this up. But he's I'm going to keep it real, okay? Verlander in the World Series is Peyton Manning before he won a Super Bowl. Anytime Manning traveled to New England in the playoffs in the snow, that's how he's been in the World Series. The question is Dusty Baker going to pull him early enough should he fall behind? Because that was our one mistake in game 1. He single-handedly let the Phillies back into the game. Now, in game 2, he did right. Valdez had the hot hand. The second that Valdez gave up a run, he yanked him. Astros closed it out. Done deal. So this series falls more on Dusty Baker more than folks think as far as the Stros go. But I've got Stros in 6. And that's my speech. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
This is our brother Denzel Snipes. Check him out on the Gauntlet, Basket Bros, and all other sideline sports. We got about a minute and a half left, so I'm going to give my 3 above me. Each of y'all, 30 seconds really quick. Talk about this World Series. Give me your thoughts. You got 30 seconds. We're going to go John, we're going to go Ray, Megan, and then I'll close it out. John, go.
I've already said it before. The only way the Phillies win this World Series, you got to win all 3 in Philadelphia. You would win 4-1. That's the only way you can do it. You can win games in Houston, but you're not going to get over the hump in Houston. You're not getting the 4th win in Houston. So if they end up losing tonight, then that's the end of the series. They go back 2-2, goes to Philly game 5. Philly probably wins that, and then Houston wins game 6 and 7. But Philly ain't winning in Houston?
I think the question has to be asked: if Houston pulls this off, we really have to start crediting this team with being a dynasty, right? Like, I mean, put John back on the screen with me real quick. I'll sacrifice some of my seconds. Hey, John, how many World Series did this make in the last 6 years?
Two.
No, not winning. How many have they been to?
I believe they've been to 3.
This is 4 or this is 3?
This is 3, I believe.
I don't know if that's accurate. Either way, man, I got Houston in 6. We're going to come back to that, though, John.
Actually, it's 4 because they lost to the Dodgers too, didn't they? Yeah, they lost to the Dodgers too.
We pressed for
I'm
time.
actually
Go
going to
ahead,
go the
Megan.
other way. I'm actually going to go the other way with this. And this isn't just because I dislike Houston and I want them to go back to the National League. This is because I really feel like I'm going to touch on what Jay had to say. And that's Phillies got hot at the right time. And you see them when they have that and they go with that momentum. There's something very powerful about that. And we see it in the crowd there in Philly, what's going on there. Now, yes, they're going to have to take it to Houston and do the same thing. But, I mean, we've seen it with the WNBA champions last season. They got hot at the right time. It didn't matter they were a 500 team. They still won the championship.
That's all I'm going to say.
It's true.
Philly closing it out. We're going to win the World Series. Much love to everybody. Sports Arena, we out of here. We'll talk to y'all on Monday night. Peace.